Okay, let me pause all this music. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing really well. I have had some amazing conversations about relationships here in the last couple of weeks, and they have quite frankly blown my mind. I mean, I'm talking about blown them out of the window. Seriously, guys. Trans ale. So, the topic of tonight's discussion is polyamory, a choice or an orientation? So, I was having an incredible conversation the other night with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the dynamics of people who are monogamous and people who are polyamorous. And I was talking about how frustrating it could be that no matter how much explaining, no matter how much we try to unite these two groups, ultimately, it just seems that these two can't understand each other no matter what, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how much you explain to someone if you are polyamorous to somebody monogamous, they don't understand it. And vice versa, if you explain to somebody, if you're a monogamous person, why you feel a certain way about polyamory, it just isn't going to make sense to them no matter what you do. And so this is why I want to pose the hypothesis here tonight. And I want to thank my friend Minx, you know who you are, for just the brilliant hypothesis and enlightenment here, because maybe it isn't anything proved by science yet. I do think that there's a lot of validity here. So, for all of you guys just tuning in now, the subject tonight is going to be polyamory, a choice or an orientation. That's right. I am hypothesizing tonight and presenting on my show, Tampa's Own, that I believe that polyamory is an orientation, much in the same way being straight, bisexual, or gay is. I also would like to say that I believe that monogamy is also an orientation. By the way, if my voice seems a little bit hoarse tonight, it's because it is. I have had a serious viral infection. Oh, hey, Ruby. Thanks for tuning in. Interesting discussion tonight. So Ruby has a very cool political channel called XJW Political Corner. I've been on her show a couple of times, and she collaborates a lot with popular XJWs in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, and talks a lot about juicy politics and does not mind getting real about it and sparking some really, really interesting debates. So yeah, definitely check out her channel. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Okay, she says the new name for the show is the Unrelenting. Yeah, that sounds about right. Hey, John. So, yeah, here's what I got to say about it, guys. And I'm going to open up the floor here in a minute, and I'm going to read some comments. But, yeah, let me run this by you guys. What if we are looking at polyamory the wrong way? Basically, instead of calling people whores for it and saying they don't have control over their members, guys, what if we're looking at it completely wrong? What if this is driven by biology and it's people rejecting who and what they are? Now, when it comes to polyamory and I think being, ethically non-monogamous, I do believe that men have a stronger desire for that. It seems that women still, by and large, have a stronger desire for monogamy. And I think a lot of it also has to do with biology. I mean, women want to find a safe place to nest and be protected. And so, multiple partners doesn't really play a role in that. It's not a very necessary. Definitely a factor because men want to germinate every single thing that they can. We get called whores for that, right? I mean, we get called bad people. We get called, where did it, okay, hey, thanks, Miss Enigma. Where did it get cut off at? At what point was I speaking? I'll try to repeat myself. Ooh, lots of comments tonight. Lots of comments. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to read your comments here in a minute. I'm going to try to repeat where I was. I think my audio had cut off. It is raining down here in Tampa and storming like hell. Oh, cool. Hey, Andrea. Thanks for tuning in. So I think that, I'll try to pick up where I left off. Men, we can't help that we produce, millions and millions of sperm cells every day. And what do we want to do? We want to do what most males want to do, which is germinate, 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 germinate. It just seems to dominate our thinking, right? Even if we want to be faithful and good, which I do believe men are capable of being faithful and good to their women, even if they are not monogamous. Even if they are cheating, I will say, I think that they are still Now, I'm not condoning that. So, don't get me wrong. I think that if you are going behind your partner's back and you are having, illicit sex, I think that that's a very unkind thing to do, even if it is nature. Even if it is nature, I think that we could be considerate enough to say, hey, listen, I love you very much, but I just, this is a very, very strong urge of mine, and I just can't be happy and fulfilled without trying to fulfill it every now and then. And so that's something you need to be very clear with your partner about. And most likely she will say, bye. But it doesn't really change things. I don't think that it really changes things. I think that men and women are inherently made so different sometimes that I don't even believe we're compatible. I also hold that theory, and that's a theory that I came up with myself. I'm sure other people have came up with it, but I mean, I really do have the theory that men and women are ultimately not compatible. They say that we complement each other, but we don't. There's always a lot of videos on popular social media talking about, do men even like women? Well, the answer is no, they don't. They're attracted to each other. Men and women are attracted to each other's differences. But I don't think that those differences align at the end of the day. I think that men and women in relationships tend to fall apart, and I think that they tend to get very lonely with each other in the long haul. And if you look around, really, you see a lot of this. You see a lot of relationships fall apart over time. Why is that? Well, it's because the differences make these two sexes grow apart. Jordan Peterson made a comment about it, and while I don't agree with every single thing he says a lot of things that I like. And one of the things that he says is that the biggest difference between men and women is that men are primarily interested in things, women are primarily interested in people. And I think that there's a lot of truth here. A lot of times when I'm hanging out with the guys, we're talking about cars, we're talking about stuff. We're talking about, work, we're talking about things. Women tend to group up and talk about their feelings and vent about that. And so while you're looking at a sexy ass car, 69 gloss black Camaro, they could give two shits about that. They're sitting down making flowers at the damn table, drinking tea, talking about feelings. Things that, well, did I lie? Well, I'm sorry. Hey, look, We're all spreading our opinions, okay? This is America, okay? If you disagree, then you disagree. This is just how I tend to feel. But I mean, getting back to it, it's like, women might be, grouped together talking about how cute babies are. I mean, men don't give a flying shit about that. I want to go in the garage and see their new tools and shit. Let me show me that damn impact gun you just bought. So I really do hold the hypothesis that men and women are not compatible creatures in the long run, which is why ultimately relationships between men and women never work out in the long haul. It's very rare that they do. I mean, girls will be friends with their girlfriends for a long time, a lot longer than they usually are in a relationship with their male partner. Vice versa with the male partner. He'll be friends with his guy friends until the day he dies, but he'll go through 5 relationships. Which brings me back to my theory here. Are monogamous people even monogamous? All right? Now let me tell you why I say that. All of you watching that are monogamous, you haven't been with one partner your whole life. That relationship eventually falls apart and then you go to another partner where you're in a monogamous relationship. But that's kind of like serial monogamy. That's still multiple partners. It's just one partner at a time. So I really am convinced, even though I am not a scientist, I am literally pulling shit out of my ass. I'm talking about hypotheses and theories that I had with who I think is a very clever friend. And I think she was onto something when she said this, that polyamory really truly is an orientation. It isn't something that we can help. I myself am a polyamorous person, and even when I have been monogamous in my relationships, it isn't something that I want to do. It isn't something that I desire. I'm doing it to appease my partner because I care about my partner, but it's almost like, the only way that I can liken it is to being gay and dating a opposite sex partner. You're doing it and you're probably a great partner, but your inside cries out. Your soul is screaming for freedom to do what it really truly wants to do. And I think the same is true even for those that are monogamous. Monogamous people just think monogamously. They don't think about stuff like that. Now, I'll add a twist to it. Not only am I polyamorous, I am a swinger as well. And I think that also, borders into orientation. Kink is another thing I want to talk about real quick too, because I truly believe that kink is also an orientation. And I don't know if these are habit, what do they call it? Nature versus nurture, which are all very interesting aspects to examine here, because this kind of stuff is fascinating. And the faster we can, understand, humanity and understand each other, I think the faster we can get towards enlightenment, and, we can quit condemning things that are really nature. In my opinion, like I said, this is just my opinion. I'm not going to shoot anybody down. I'm sure there's a lot of people that disagree with me. In fact, I'm looking at the comments. I can see that some people do. I'm going to read those in just a second because I'm actually still interested in your perspective, even if we may feel differently. I was talking to my mom about it this morning, and she said, sometimes in the dissenting opinions is where you can find answers sometimes. And you can broaden your perspective. And I agree with that. Sometimes you may not want to hear things. I was just saying the other night, many of you know, I tend to lean conservative when it comes to politics. I would say libertarian conservative, but if I hadn't listened to my liberal friends about anything, if I had been narrow-minded, I wouldn't have gained some perspectives that kind of made me think twice about things. Because a lot of times I might walk up to a discussion very set in my belief, and I might listen to them, and they might share their perspective and show me some facts, and I might say, whoa, shit, wait a minute. I didn't know all that. So this is a very serious thing that I think we should all consider, because it's something that affects so many of us. I mean, how many people are on dating apps nowadays, and you see, no poly, no, I don't want to be your throuple. What's up with that? Why is that happening more and more and more and more? Well, I believe because,
Can I
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Okay, I wasn't.
Well, you might have to come here in the microphone though. Okay, so
I'm coming.
the lovely Bianca Terror Reader over here is going to chime in. She has an opinion she'd like to share. Go ahead.
All right.
Here, wait, come over here.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Sup, homies. I'm back again. All right. So in relation to like the no poly, no throuple thing, it's because people keep reaching out to monogamous people, especially on apps where they clearly state like what people's preference are. They disregard that and treat us like unicorns, and like just just to add some spice to their relationships, even though we don't want that. Like we don't want that. We don't consent to that. But they're just like they don't care. So that's why people say it's not that they're prejudiced against poly people. It's just that poly people keep hitting us up for threesomes. Mostly just like sexual encounters, not even for like actual relationship stuff. Mostly like just for sexual encounters when they're like looking for like just regular relationships. All right, you're doing great, kid.
Thank you for that perspective. Okay, so I'm gonna get over here to the comments because wow. There's a lot of comments here. By the way, thank you for the comments. I love it. I read them live on the show. So yes, if you want to participate, leave a comment. I will read it. I'm going to start from the very beginning because holy shit, there's like 50 of them. Thanks, guys. All right, so Ruby says, hey, new name for the show, The Unrelenting Political Corner. For all of you just tuning in, she has a very popular political show where she does not mind stirring the pot. Very entertaining show to watch. I've been on it a couple times myself. Thank you, Ruby. So John says, hey, ES Queen V, men are driven by what men are driven by and vice versa. I agree with you there. Okay, yeah. Miss Enigma, 84. I think your audio went off. Yeah, my audio went off. It is in our nature as men and women. Okay, I agree with that. Queen V says it came back from, okay, so she's talking with the audio. Miss Enigma is Andrea. ES Queen V says, right after I wrote my first comment, it dipped out and came back. Okay, where you said, okay, it's talking about the most men, different things men want to terminate, yeah. Lady Jagger's giving the eyes. I think people are more accepting when communication is open and they're given the option to choose. Okay, that's a fair point. And that is a fair point, you know. It's definitely something you want to talk to your partner about. And yes, it can be hard, and yes, it can close doors. But ultimately, if you're serious about somebody, it is better to tell them about that and talk and see if there is, you know, some wiggle room. And, you know, sometimes there is. I have seen a lot of couples in the poly community, because I've been in the poly community and swinger community for years, where you'll have one partner who is polyamorous, and then you'll have one partner who is monogamous. And it really is a crazy thing. I have seen that, both for men and women. And surprisingly, I've seen more men be monogamous than women, which is strange because you would think that, you know, with men just being the quote-unquote horn dogs that we are, that, you know, the man would be poly and the woman would want to be monogamous. But in my personal experience, I have been surprised when I have seen, you know, poly women, and I've taken them on dates straight from their husband's house. And their husband is monogamous and says, hey, honey, have a great time. Hey, nice to meet you, DIASISS. And I'm like, holy shit, is he cool? And she's like, oh, he's totally cool. Yeah, we'll have dinner later. Okay. Stranger things have happened. All right, so back to the comments. Hey, Mom, good evening to you, too. So Brenda Ayala is my mom. We've had some interesting discussions on that. Miss Enigma says, wow, interesting take. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It really is interesting. And then ES Queen V says, interesting take for real, for real. It really is. So Ruby says, male and females are different, but we can complement each other. It takes two to work towards that goal. Okay, and I like to believe that. I'm very skeptical about that in the long run, but I mean, I'm for it because, I mean, it'd be great. So, let's see here. Ah ha 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 ha. Yes, Queen Bee says, I love cars. Ahem. Yes. Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think car girls are sexy. So, let's see here. Get 'em, B. Let's see here. We're just out here talking about babies and flowers. Yeah. Lame.
You
To me.
said it.
Very limited view of women and their interest. Okay. Okay, and maybe it is. You know, it's just, I've seen that. Like, I've always, okay, so anybody who knows me knows I've wanted the stereotypical bad bitch who wears the black leather, who's got a gun on her, pretty much the fucking female version of me, right? Won't shut the fuck up about cool ass music, creative, kind of dark, isolated, and loves her damn old school, dangerous looking car. Literally looks like she just killed two people in an action movie, stepped out like an assassin, and just blew their fucking head off in like her old black Trans Am. Like, I have loved the vixen look of the 70s and 80s ever since I was fucking old enough to watch MTV and TV in general. I mean, you know, hell, I've got an 84 Trans Am. Everybody knows that. And even the commercials had like this vixen bitch. She had a black coat, big ass hair. She looked dangerous, right? She had the sex appeal and she looked dangerous. Had this fucking car, you know, that is what I drive. And she was the marketing tool of that car to very much success. So I've always thought that was cool. I don't think that those women exist in real life, but I think that's very cool. So, okay, fair enough. Very limited view of men and, you know, women and their interest. Okay. Not trying to be, kind of feel like that sometimes. So the desires of the sinful flesh have driven male and females apart. This is Ruby. The degeneration of our society has normalized this, but in marriage, you make a vow to each other and not to our selfish desires. You know, honestly, I can appreciate a level of that. I mean, I do think that a long-term relationship should be about sacrifice. And it should be about looking out, you know, as, because you quoted the Bible here, I'm going to quote the Bible too, not only for your interest, but that of the other person. Hey, Mom. So, I think that that's good. I actually do. I think it's good as long as you don't sacrifice yourself in the process. But is that a very valid principle, Ruby? Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. That I think that is a very valid principle. And I don't think that it can hurt. So, yeah. So, let's see here. Marriage, we found each other, okay. Cat B says my best friends were males, not women. Wow, really? That's very interesting. How did that go, Kat? Let me know. All right, so my mom says, but some relationships actually do work out just fine. You can't make a general statement about our relationships because that is equally incorrect. Okay, all right, fair enough, fair enough. Some relationships do work out. They do. I mean, you know, I won't lie. I mean, sometimes I think about my grandparents. They were married, what was it, Mom? Damn near 70 years? They were married a long time. They got married, what? Maybe in the 40s or 50s until, you know, one of them finally died in 2011. Long time. And they were together and they were happy till they died. You know, that's not to say it was perfect. You know, they had their times like anybody else. You know, they went through their shit. But overall, they were very happy. And, you know, honestly, I mean, that is one relationship that does make me happy when I think about my grandmother and, you know, I call them grandmommy and granddaddy, is that, you know, they still had a lot of that spark even until they died. You know, grandma, you know, granddaddy, you know, grab her up, oh, stop it, daddy, and all. They're, you know, they're still flirty and sexy even, you know, even to the end. And I think that that is one of the most beautiful things that can happen in a relationship is when you can maintain that kind of love, that kind of appreciation for that fucking long. And I think that that should be one of our goals in life as people, like all of us. If you can achieve that, then you have achieved something amazing. So, yeah. Okay, so back to the comments. I agree that it's an orientation. Yeah, I really feel like it is. So lavender marriage. You're gonna have to explain that later. I don't know what lavender marriage is. Yeah, tell me about that later. Respectfully, I disagree. Men want to paint it up as if they can't control it. Sorry, I don't buy it. Okay. That's how you feel. I respect it. So let's see here. Okay, kink equals orientation. Yeah, I feel like kink is an orientation.
Does not equal.
Oh, does not equal orientation. You don't think a kink is an orientation?
No.
No, why not?
We could do another video on that.
Okay, fine. She doesn't think kink is an orientation. We'll have to talk about that later. I've got my questions and skepticism about that one. Okay. Ruby says, but hey, I don't know, I'm no expert. Well, me neither. Let's see, oh snap, I'm still in the background. Yeah, you are still in the background. This is Lady Jagger, by the way. The infamous, mysterious Lady Jagger. So, all right. My mom, Brenda, says men and women are not sexual. Men and women are not sexual. The thing that changes your sexual relationships is emotion and the desire to be relational. A long-term relationship, marriage cannot endure if only one person's needs are met. Okay, yes, I agree with that. Both needs have to be met. It cannot be a one-way thing. And and honestly, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because that would be very selfish. So yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Let's see. Compromise, not sacrifice, in my opinion. You know what? Yeah, I see what you mean by that, Andrea. Yeah, because with compromise, it's a little bit different. Versus what I think you mean by sacrifice, which would mean, giving up a part of who you really are, versus maybe compromising a little bit, which might be more of an, adaptation. So, yeah. Did it cut off? Let me know if it cut off. So I'm still going through the comments here. Almost done with the comments. And if you guys have more to say, like I said, feel free to chime in. For all those just now tuning in, polyamory, a choice or an orientation? And a lot of people have a lot to say about it. So I'm going to get back to the comments. Let's see here. Compromise, not sacrifice, in my opinion. Cool show, DIASISS. I got to bounce, but keep it up. Soon we need to collab again. I have too many ideas to type out, so see you soon. All right, hey, Ruby, I want to thank you for tuning into the show. She has her own show. It used to be called XJW Political Corner. Hold on, let me go back to it real quick. It's called the Unrelenting Political Corner, so check that out. She definitely does not mind stepping on toes in that show. It's funny as hell. A lot of interesting debates, a lot of great discussion. Okay, so Miss Enigma says kink is a pleasure point. Okay. Yes, tea, party queen. Oh God, don't start with the tea again. There's not going to be any tea on the show tonight. We're not doing tea. Yeah, we're not going to do tea tonight. I got plenty of coffee right here. Hold on one second. Oh yeah. There's a rumor that tea is actually made out of coffee. Can you believe that? Blew me away too. All right, so back to the comments. So, Anna. Okay, hey Anna. Anna says kink is not an orientation. Okay, so there's a couple of people here who do not feel like kink is an orientation. I'd like to talk about that at some point because I wonder if it is an orientation. And I'd love to know, you know, because since we're talking about it on the show, what do you guys think the difference is between it being a preference or I don't even know what you guys would call it, or an orientation? Because I really feel like polyamory is an orientation. I also feel like monogamy is an orientation. So.
Okay, if I may.
Wait, hold on. Let me read. I'm almost done with the comments.
Yeah.
So, kink is not an orientation. No way. Orientation is something you are born as. Okay. All right. So, my question to that, all right, and then I'm going to finish the comments. Do you think that, I mean, you know, can your orientation change? Can your orientation, you know, not be something that you're born with? I mean, like, for instance, every person that's gay nowadays, were they born gay? Or did maybe nature, nurture, whatever, kind of make them move in that direction, and they became that way? So that's an interesting question. Okay, I'm almost done. So, no way orientation is something that you were born as. Kink is imprinting the way a duck does with boots when it's born. Okay? Exactly, Anna. Okay, this is actually her right here. She's about to comment here in a second as soon as I get done with the comments. Exactly, Anna, though, there have been talks about predisposition. Okay, predispositions. Now, okay, now we're kind of on the same street here. Predispositions to certain kinks being genetic. Anna says ducks follow the first thing they see, and that's what happens with a kink. It's what happens as puberty starts. Okay. And Anna also says, yes, I can believe there is a genetic aspect to it. And Anna says a bit nature, mostly nurture. And then my mom says, you're fine, we can hear you. Okay, good, awesome. All right. So Bianca has something she'd like to say about the whole kink thing and orientation. So yes, by all means.
God, just outing myself 2 videos in a row and your mom's in the comments for this. Jesus Christ. Hey, Miss Brenda, what's good? Yeah, so I think the issue that I personally have with you referring to kink as an orientation is that kink is so broad. It's not like kink isn't just kink in general. It's not like all people who are going to like dungeons and like leather gatherings are all into the same things.
Okay.
So saying like kink is an orientation is like saying like, oh, okay. I was gonna say it's like saying that all of LGBTQ is an orientation, but technically those are all different orientations. So like that's a terrible analogy there. But the point is, saying that kink as a whole is an orientation, I feel is not quite the right terminology there, because it encompasses like such a broad thing. And even for some people who engage in certain kinds of kink, there are activities that are like, you know, kink adjacent. Kink adjacent. That involve like a lot of like physical sensation and stuff like that. In many cases, some of them, it's not sexual. There's been a lot of discourse about, you know, like not all kink being sexual, which I feel some kind of way about. But yeah, kink as a whole cannot be an orientation because there's so many different subsets of kinky interests, whether you're dominant, submissive, sadist, masochist, whether you're into bondage or not, whether you're into, you know what, let me not give too many examples and out myself further. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. Comments, go off.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, you know, and honestly, this discussion raises another interesting question. Is an orientation both something that you can be born with, and is it something that can develop? So, you know, I'll tell you my thoughts on it are that I personally believe, and, you know, like I said, I mean, I'm not a scientist. You take this, you know, however you want it. But I really do think that, sorry, you got to do it every time you say that, you got to quote Alanis, you got to quote it the way that Alanis Morissette did, okay? You fucking suck if you don't do that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I really do think. It was great. Right? It's catchy, isn't it? Once you get it in your mind, it's like you can't get it
It
out.
was a rainy ass day though.
It was a
literally
rainy
today.
ass day.
On someone's wedding day.
So on someone's wedding day, and who would have thought it figures? I'll tell you the weirdest song she ever did was that shit where she was standing like naked, looking up at this damn sky, and she's like, "Thank you, India. Thank you, Pakistan." It's like, what in the fuck is she talking about?
I know, do some research about it.
Yeah, like seriously, like what the hell was that about? Thank you, India. Thank you, Burger King. She said Burger King, didn't she?
I need to check out that.
I think she said Burger King one time, guys, right? My mom says hi.
I see.
Yeah, like seriously, like she was like that video was an orientation. Damn it. The shit was weird, okay? And I'm from the 90s. The shit was weird. We even thought it was weird in the 90s. We're watching this shit going, what the hell is wrong with Alanis, man? Is she like, having like a crisis or some shit? Oh my God. I'm gonna drink more coffee because my voice is hoarse because I have been sick as hell.
Coffee doesn't help with that. Tea does.
That is, okay. We're gonna have an episode on that at some point.
Tea time, tea time,
No.
tea time, tea time.
All right. I'm going to get back to the comments for a minute and then try to remember what the hell I was talking about before we started talking about Alanis Morissette. She is cool, though. I like Alanis.
Kink not being an orientation.
Kink is totally an orientation.
It's not an orientation.
I think it's an orientation. I really think it's an orientation.
It's not an orientation. It's not how that works.
It doesn't have to be sexual. Not everything has to be sexual. I know people who are asexual. They're not sexual.
But damn it.
It's still an orientation.
Damn it, but orientations it's short for sexual orientation. We're talking about sexual things. Damn it. Linguistics.
We're not just talking about sexuality. Well, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about orientations, which is kind of, I don't know. Listen, guys, take it how you want it. We're talking about cool shit, okay? Back to the comments. All right, so a bit of nature, mostly nurture. You're fine, we can hear you. For me, I would think of kink as the way you like your coffee. Things that bring you pleasure. Okay, all right, fair enough. Let me see here. So was polyamory invented because of our liberal leanings? That's a good question. That's a good question.
No.
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 I want to get back to that here in a minute. I have seen them more embracing of it in general, though.
Okay, hold on.
Because it tends to conflict with a lot of conservative principles. And now there are swingers and poly in both sides, but it seems like maybe the liberals kind of started it first.
No, because it's existed for centuries. Like, even biblically, if you want to... Even Jesus, fuck. Even... Don't vape in my damn face. Anyway, even biblically, men had multiple wives. Like, polyamory, again, going back to, like, prefixes and suffixes here, like we were talking about cis and trans.
Here, I'll stop vaping while
You're sick, and, like, I don't... Anyway.
Go ahead.
So, poly, multiple, amory, like, amor, love, right? One could argue that you're more into polyarity rather than polyamory, but,
Okay.
yeah, because there's like a distinction. So polyamory is like romantic involvement, whereas polyarity is specifically about like the erotic connection. But I don't know. Only you can speak to that.
Okay. All right, so back to the comments real quick. You're really good at reading bad spelling fat thumb text. Thank you. All right, so I love Alanis Morissette, 90s girl. Hell yeah. It's like rain on your wedding day. It's a free ride. Why'd she do that? When you're already late, she's like pulling her hat over her head and banging her head in the back of the car and shit, just having like a damn schizophrenic flip out. It's a good video, actually. I always loved it. I'm joshing with you guys a little bit. I actually like that album a lot. My favorite song on that was You Learn. She's like, I recommend that you walk around naked in your living room. I certainly do.
Oh, damn.
Like she's singing like...
Your mom's reading you for Phil.
Hold on.
Shit.
All right, hold on, wait a minute. You were not polyamorous when you were younger. You became that later in life, which kills the orientation theory. Okay. I'm going to get back to that. Yes, I'm going to get back into that. I mean, what do you think? Yeah, no, I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. I feel like polyamory is deeper than swinging in open relationships. Yes, and I completely agree with that. In fact, you were a serial monogamist. Thanks, Mom.
Reading you for
Just
Phil,
blew
bro.
it off. Ouch. So getting back to it, yes, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and to give my mom credit, she was never with that shit. That was kind of like a personal journey that I made. You know, along with my grandmother, who was very serious into it, and so I was very obedient to the theory of monogamy back then, and I was. You know, in fact, my wife had cheated on me first, 5 years into our marriage, and then I finally cheated on her 10 years in. So I was faithful, and I was very faithful, but, you know, did I have a lot of lustful feelings towards other women, and not just lust, but just curiosity and even the desire to maintain some kind of intimate relationships with other women. I did have those desires always, something that I didn't really talk about or get into, but I did. Both of my marriages, I was monogamous for the most part. I did finally cheat after 10 years, but we ended the relationship shortly thereafter anyway. And it wasn't like it was a big secret or anything. I mean, our marriage was falling apart. My second marriage, I was also very faithful. Although I will say, you know, as the years went by towards the end, these got harder and harder and harder as I just became more and more curious about other connections. And it really didn't even have anything to do with being tired of my partners. I still wanted to be with my partners. I still loved my partners, my wives. But I just wanted to get to know other partners, and I can't really explain or put my finger on why I wanted that. But, you know, I did, well, you know, maybe I can. I think in some weird way, polyamory for me is about family. And, you know, with the people that you love, sometimes you want to connect with them intimately, and you want to feel like you could be comfortable, and you want to feel like you could express that, and you want to feel safe, right? And so maybe, yeah. My mom is jealous of my amazing Alanis Morissette voice. Actually, she's not. She's a hell of a singer. Are you still singing at the Opry coming up? She sings at the, Orange Blossom Orlando Opry. Great singer, always has been a singer. And it skipped a generation, Mom. It's not fair. I make music, and I love to compose music, but I'm not much of a singer. But my mom and my sister, not my sister, although I don't know if she can sing or not, but my mom and my daughter can sing. Holy shit, they can sing their ass off. And I really mean they can literally sing their ass off. Like it walks off the stage when they're singing. Like literally every time, like Michael Jackson. Like the legs go this way and their body's moving that way, right? I mean, it's wow. Like, holy shit. All right, so Yes, I was a serial monogamous for a long time. Yeah, that's true. Um, I just had this curiosity to maintain other relationships with other women, and it really be some kind of a civilized thing. Not even apart from the other women. Um, I always wanted to be something where they all cared about each other and they were all really close too. I always wanted this thing that kind of felt like Friends, the show. As crazy as that may sound to some people, yes, that's kind of what I envisioned idealistically. Yeah, no, she wasn't. That's true what she just said. My mom just said, yeah, she was not with that. She did not want me to do that. That was something that I did on my own. And due to a lot of my grandmother's influence. But anyways, back to the comments. So, I feel like polyamory is deeper than swinging in open relationships. Yes, yes it is. I do feel like they overlap for me, but yes, they're not the same. But the phrasing sounds incestuous. I'm so sorry, but you gotta workshop that. Thank you. Anna says, me too, I was a JW converted by my, whoa. Wow, hold on a second. So Anna says, me too, I was a JW converted by my best friend's family, also neighbors and close friends, family friends. Also, the mom was one of the teachers at my school, so they were also like that. Wow. Well, then you know what it's like to have that sexual repression. It's a very real thing in a cult. And we were very, very, very repressed. Not just physically, but I mean, even mentally. Like, we were told not to think about everything. So, we were always told, Jehovah's watching us and ready to condemn us and destroy us, for thinking a lot of wicked thoughts towards people, covetous, sexual thoughts, lustful thoughts. And that those kinds of people would not inherit God's kingdom. So yeah, I mean, a lot of times I felt like I had to deny my nature because of these things. So yeah, let's see here, not friends. That's funny. So Anna says, I love the way you pronounce Oprah. Where's your accent from? Well, I am from Florida. So I am a Floridian. I also spent a lot of time in the South. And I mean, it could have something to do with the fact that I'm also half Hispanic. I don't know. But, people have said that I have a little bit of an accent. Maybe I do. All right, so let's see here. I mentioned the serial monogamy to affirm choice, not nature, respectfully. Okay. So Alicia says, the women are all friends. Sounds like polygamy, not polyamory. Yeah, and that's a good point, Alicia. Yeah, I just, and this is just, like I said, this is my personal opinion. This is just the way that this makes me personally feel, but it just seems like such a warm thing when I have seen, a traditional polygamous family, and you got a man, the wives love each other, they all work together, they all love their husband, they have children. I have always personally been attracted to that. I'm not saying it's wrong or right, it's just something that I've always seen that has kind of made me say, wow, that just looks so awesome. Yeah. So, it's Aubrey. Oh, yeah, Aubrey. Yeah, no, I wasn't saying Oprah. I was wondering about that. Yeah, no, Aubrey, like the Grand Ole Opry. It's a Nashville thing, country thing. All right, awesome, Mom. Yeah, great voice, great show. It's on, I know they have a page on Facebook where they broadcast it live. Let's see, Anna says, I felt so guilty being a girl with sexual feelings. Thought I was a weirdo. Right, yeah, that's so true. Hold on a second. I'm going to drink more of this coffee, but I want to talk about that for a minute because that's, you ain't lying. And I have seen, young girls really be treated a certain way for having sexual feelings and condemned in the Jehovah's Witness Church a lot. I mean, like, really just made to feel bad and slutty. And I think that is just a horrible, horrible guilt trip that the elders lay on you. But yeah, hold on one second. Oh, I'm honestly running out of voice here. I had the worst sickness. I ended up being okay. I'm getting over it now, but I don't know what the hell it was. There's something going around. It's like some kind of infection, upper respiratory. Feels like the cold and the flu mixed together. But yeah, you know, they really make you feel bad for that, you know, being in the Jehovah's Witness faith. And you know, for men, I think that, you know, they talk about it too, but probably not the way that they tend to target women about it, which I always thought was very unfair. Because I mean, if you're a woman growing up as a Jehovah's Witness and embracing any part of your sexuality, and let alone openly discussing it, you could get blacklisted for that. You could be the subject of a public needs talk, local needs talk, where they will do everything but highlight you by your name. But they will spell you out so good that you'll know exactly. Everyone will know who they're talking about. They'll be like, well, and brothers and sisters, we don't want to say names here, but let's just say young ladies who like to wear green dresses, who usually come in 10 minutes late with black curly hair. Yeah. We want to not be like those people, brothers and sisters.
Well, damn. I feel called out.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've called me out before, and it's like, and I know who they're talking about, and everybody knows it. People are like turning around looking at me at the Kingdom Hall, and I'm like,
that's like a church thing in general. That's like a
Yeah.
church thing just across denominations.
Yeah, oh, it's cult shit. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hated that. I was so mad at one of the elders, I wanted to like literally knock his ass out. Like he literally looked at me on stage, and he just smiled.
Hate that. Hate that.
He's like, yeah, we want to be really careful about talking to our brothers a little too enthusiastically, you know, about maybe our own interest, like cars and psychology. Looks over at me, and I was like, what did I do unscriptural by engaging with people who wanted to talk to me about these things also? The people who didn't want to talk about it, I left alone. It's like, what the hell did I do wrong? Man, that's just the kind of shit that would always happen with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Always. Okay, some more comments. Alicia says, you are talking about sister wives then. So the question is, can the women you are involved with be in a relationship with the other men as well? That's what most polyamorous individuals subscribe to. And that's a very fair point. Alicia makes a very, very, very fair point. You know, it is a scary thing. And as somebody who has been polyamorous, you know, it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, I want to be with another woman. And then my woman's like, yeah, I want to be with another man. It's like, what do you mean you want to be with another man? What the hell? And then it feels weird, and then you feel all insecure and shit. And it is fair, though. It is fair. If you're opening up the relationship, then they have every right to also open up the relationship, right? And it can feel weird. So that's where a lot of honesty, communication, and boundaries have to come up. You know, because I mean, polyamory is not this free thing. So for all you monogamous people out here who may be listening, I will say this as consolation that polyamory is not the total free reign. We have sex whenever, with whoever we want. No, there's a lot of rules and there's a lot of respect that still goes into it. And for most of us polyamorous people, if you do have some kind of sex or some kind of relationship outside of what is agreed upon in your polyamorous relationship, I will let you know right now, that is also considered cheating. And we do view it that way. So, you know, for instance, if my partner says, okay, listen, you know, I'm okay with us seeing this partner while we're together, but I don't feel comfortable with you hanging out with her when I'm not around, or even talking to her. And I invite this person over, and something happens, To me, that is still cheating. That is still having an affair. You have done something unilaterally outside of the boundaries of your relation. Hey, Julius, what's up? I'm going to get to the comments here in a minute. You have done something disrespectful outside of the boundaries and the sanctity and safety of your relationship. And that is very disrespectful, and that is also very unfaithful. And that's very untrustworthy of you, and that's very unloving. So, yes, I mean, there are boundaries even within the realm of polyamory that must be respected and should be upheld. So, yeah. But that's a very good point, Alicia. Because, I mean, it does open the door for insecurities and jealousies, which are very natural in relationships. And I'm not even going to say that they're all bad. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't have jealousy in your relationship. I happen to have the theory that we're biologically driven that way too. We are biologically driven to protect what is in our best interest. And if our relationship is being threatened by somebody who we fear could remove that relationship or steal that relationship from us, then we're inclined to protect that. And I think that that is natural, and I think that we shouldn't give ourselves such a hard time about that. I think that we shouldn't shame ourselves so bad about that. I think that we should understand that this is inherently part of our human nature, and that we need to understand this about ourselves, and we need to respect this about the people that we care about, and we need to show them love and be kind to them about these things, because we all have insecurities at the end of the day. And even if we are the best looking, richest, most successful, confident person on the planet, eventually we all get old, we all get ugly, and we fall apart, and we need to be... Well, listen, do you think you're going to look as good at 80 as you do at 30?
Bitch, I'm black. Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm going to look as good as I look at 80, in my humble opinion. But yeah, you be the judge of that. Back to the comments. Real mature. You're just being real mature.
Okay, cradle robber.
So, we're only 10 years apart. 10 years, guys, come on! Don't Leonardo DiCaprio my ass.
I'm too old for Leo.
You are too old for Leo,
I
actually.
am too old for
You
Leo.
are too old for Leo. I do think his relationship is a little extreme. I mean, he's talking to somebody, what is she, in her early 20s?
Yeah, it's like once they hit 24, I think 24 is the max, and he keeps getting older, but like he won't date past, I think, like 24 or something like that.
See, and I wouldn't even want to do that because, I mean, yes, okay, she's going to be an attractive, beautiful young lady. But, what are you going to talk about? I mean, the maturity levels are so different. They're so, I don't know. Anyway, all right, so back to the comments, because I've got some interesting comments to read here. So Miss Enigma 84 says, I'm from Utah, not Mormon, but they are very community and family oriented. Solid support systems are important. And yeah, I think that she is talking about, the polygamous relationships of the Mormons. And yeah, that's true. That's true. And, and I don't think it's all bad. I mean, do I think that it's a little kooky and controlling? Yes, I do. Do I think that it's all bad, though? No. I mean, they're able to maintain very long-standing relationships, and I think that that's a good thing. If that's your sort of thing, if that's your forte. So let's see here. Happened to me at church growing up. Yep. Where you were probably, made to feel bad for, expressing any kind of sexuality, as if women are not allowed to be sexual and men are. That is a double standard, I think, that is not good. Anna says, oh, I wondered that. Thank you. I nearly asked if I was saying it right yet. So Alicia says, I'm just talking about what I've heard, RE polyamory. I could be wrong. I'm monogamous, so I'm not all that well informed. Only ever known of one person who practiced polyamory. Yeah, no, Alicia, you are definitely onto something. I mean, that cuts both ways. So, for the sacrifice of wanting to have fun with more than one partner, there's also the sacrifice that you have to deal with your partner also maybe wanting to have fun. And granted, you guys can choose to see partners together. You can choose to date separately. I'm friends with a couple who have been married for years, and they like to date separately. Now, I will say that, my style of polyamory is not like that. I like to date together. I like what's called kitchen table polyamory, meaning that we all have a relationship and a level of openness with each other, and that we all come to the table as a team, and that there isn't a lot of compartmentalization going on. But, some people may have their differences there. So take it how you want it. Some people date separately, some partners choose to date together. And there are definitely hierarchies, and sometimes there are not hierarchies. So, those are very good points, because polyamory definitely adds a level of complexity to a relationship. It absolutely does. And you have to be very responsible, and you have to be very mature to be able to handle these things. Because there can be a lot of navigating needed to sort that, that shit out, to map that shit out. So, Julia says, hey, what's up? It's gaslighting. Don't remember what you were talking about, but Alicia says, yes, from what I know about ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, all are informed beforehand and can say no. Yes, Alicia, that is right, especially if they are healthy, respectful partners. You are absolutely correct. That is exactly how it should be. I mean, relationships should definitely be about being happy, aligning with your interest, finding other people who align with your interest, but they should also be about compromise and looking out for the best interest of your partner too. Granted, you guys are not so reconcilable, you can actually make a healthy union, healthy, happy union work for the most part. So yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of relationships, right? Haha, Julia says, Brenda will look fantastic at 80. Yes, she will. Healthy jealousy is a protective mechanism. Unhealthy jealousy destroys love. Yes, Mom, I 150% agree with that. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. Yes. I agree with that. Can't say if it's true or not. I am no relationship expert or psychologist, but yeah, I mean, I feel that way too. Let's see. Tell him, Bianca, I'm gonna be smoking hot at 80. Anna says, if you love someone, set them free and all that. Well, I mean, I guess. So what about you, Anna? Are you poly? Are you monogamous? If you don't mind sharing, what's your orientation? If not orientation, what is your
preference?
What the hell do you guys? That's the thing too. I really don't know if polyamory and monogamy are preferences. I don't think either could dive into either's. I don't think they could switch sides if they wanted to.
Nope.
You can't move it.
Nope.
You can't move that shit.
I learned that real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So, back to the comments. So Julia says, I'm poly relationships. Does one need to watch out for the third party when there is a one-on-one disagreement? Yes, so Julius, that is a great point. Yes, sometimes you do. When there is a one-on-one disagreement, that's another scary thing that can happen in a polyamorous relationship. And I have dealt with that firsthand on both sides. Sometimes you may have a third party or fourth party or whoever, because I mean the biggest relationship that I've been in with that was poly was 4 people. It was a mutual couple, me and my girlfriend, and then there was another couple that we entertained, that we got along with well, like to do stuff together with. But there is that reality that, you can have a disagreement with one of them, and they may not agree with you. or you may not agree with them, and then, you know, one person might feel like a little bit of an outsider, at least in that time being, and, you know, honestly, I mean, there is a chance of that. And there's a chance that even that dynamic could break apart as a result of that. I mean, I was talking to one of my poly friends the other day, who had a boyfriend and girlfriend, and they had a poly relationship, I think, for about 2 years. Well, you know, there were some disagreements that happened, and I'm not going to go into their business, but I'll leave it at this. You know, they ended up being kind of reconcilable, and unfortunately, you know, my friend had to get out of that relationship because they were much more in alignment than, you know, than the three of them together. So, yeah. But, you know, relationships are complex. I mean, you know, even if you're monogamous, you may have to deal with boredom sometimes. You may have to deal with over-reliance on one partner. And it can be a lot of pressure for one partner to deal with versus, you know, being poly where you have a network of friends and community that can pick up the slack where your partner may need a break from time to time. And that's why I say, I mean, I don't think either one of them are wrong. It's just you got to decide what works for you and what you're happy with. You know, so. All right, Alicia says, I would argue that polyamory favors men. Okay, okay. I think that it more closely matches your biology and what is accepted by society from a sociological perspective. For women, I'd argue it's the opposite. And you know, honestly, Alicia, yeah, I mean, sometimes I agree with that. You know, because I mean, if you guys are, you know, just now tuning in at the onset of the show, I was kind of talking about how, you know, men just have this drive to germinate. We, you know, we produce a lot of sperm cells. We, you know, think about sexuality, especially from the physical aspect, and multiple women, like a lot, you know, like a lot. And I think we think about it more in the physical, primal, carnal sense than maybe even women do a lot of the time. Now, I'm not going to speak for every woman, but it seems like they tend to think more carnally with regards to their partner, whereas men just think carnally. Now, I have seen some women who are pretty fucking carnal, especially in the swinger community and poly community, especially if they feel safe. You know, they have surprised me. But it seems like, generally speaking, yeah, I mean, men just think about sex to think about sex. They think about women because they just want women.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It really is. I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, no, that's a good point. You know, and I don't think that we try to be this way. You know, I know the sexes really get mad at each other. We get mad at each other a lot because we have such a hard time understanding each other. And I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this discussion tonight too. You know, we get so mad at each other as the opposite sexes because we have such a hard time understanding each other. But, you know, the truth is, at the end of the day, the reality is that, you know, we can't fully understand each other. I can try to sympathize with a woman all day about what it's like to have hormonal changes and the certain feelings that may go along with having a period, having a child. But I will never know what that's like. I will never know what it feels like to be a woman. I will never know what it feels like to grow up in a society being treated like a woman. And they will never know what it's like to feel like a man and have these strong, like violent sexual urges to plant their seed in every single thing they can find. And just really lose their fucking marbles over it. You know, I don't think that women will understand that from a man's perspective the way that we guys do. You know, we get it all the time. We can look at each other and just start laughing because we get it, right? And I think in that way, you know, the sexes are fundamentally different sometimes. And just, you know, we can understand each other, I think, a little bit at the end of the day. But ultimately, you know, I think there's always going to be some barriers of distance there just because we are not of the same biology. You know, I mean, the only thing that men and women have in common is that we're both humans. I mean, think about that for a minute. Think about this for a second. The only reason, the only thing that we have in common is that we're both made out of the same fleshly materials and different variations of these materials at that. That is the only thing that makes us have anything in common. Other than that, fundamentally, we're built literally the opposite. And sometimes that even seems like that's true even in the mind, you know. The mind of a woman and the mind of a man are very opposite and contradictory. Well, I mean, we both crave love. And we crave a lot of the same things, but I mean, it's just we're so damn different. Well, what do you think?
Well, again, to reference last week's talk about like gender and sexes and love spells and curses, we touched on the just general gender spectrum. Okay, like I get it. You're a relatively straight dude of a certain age, but we have more than just like men and women. Okay, remember we were talking about intersex folk, yeah. People have like different configurations and stuff like that down there and inside that you can't see sometimes. So like consider that. Talking about like gender differences as like being just purely binary in terms of our thought process as if we're like complete opposites is just very limited and ignorant. Talk to more women. Talk to more intersex folk. Like just talk to more people, dude.
Okay. Well, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I tend to I do. I mean, I have a very black or white view about this based on what I've read about biology and psychology. There seems to be some generalities here that we just can't cross. So, some of you may agree to disagree, and that's fine. Like I said, I definitely do not have all the answers. I don't know. I mean, I feel pretty differently about that. So, yeah. But thank you for sharing that. I do like hearing multiple perspectives. So, Julia says, are there set hierarchies in poly relationships? Yes, there certainly can be, and that is actually the way that I like it. If it was up to me, you know, if I could just snap my fingers and have any kind of polyamorous relationship I want, I like the hierarchy of maybe a monogamous couple with poly partners. Meaning that you and your partner decide together how it's run, and there isn't a third party that has an equal say in it. You know, they are somebody who joins along. But I like the idea of a hierarchy, yes, personally. So, yeah. I'm actually going to take a quick bathroom break because the coffee's running right through me. You guys are more than welcome to comment, ask away, ask questions, share your perspective. For all of those just tuning in, this subject tonight is polyamory, a choice or an orientation. So yes, I will be right back.
Oh, I have rights.
Oh my God. Okay.
Sup, y'all? Okay, so he said I had rights. What? I do. So, all right, let's see. Comments while he's handling his body business. I don't know what he's got to let go of, but he's got to let go of some things. Aside from his limited gender views when it comes to mentality and mindset. We're all learning here. Drop your questions and comments below, y'all. Also, how many of y'all watched last week's stream? Like the timing was weird because it was his daughter's graduation, and driving across state lines and stuff like that. So it wasn't the usual day. So how many of y'all caught the replay? Because it was very juicy and I was there. Alicia, you missed it. Well, it's still available to watch. Just go to DIASISS channel, and it's still there. You can catch the replay. It was a bit slow because, again, since it wasn't on the usual day, not everyone was tuned in like they are with like bated breath here. Miss Enigma 84. I caught the replay. Very good stuff. Yeah, we had a chat. We had a chat about that. Brenda, hey Miss Brenda, if as a Christian woman I believe we are made to be a man and a woman, and I do, why do we seek more when we are already perfectly designed and made, and we already have what we need genetically? Again, so I feel like what I'm inferring from this statement is the argument about like whether or not people want to be like trans or not, or like the choice. Yeah, we have what we need genetically, but some of us we have like an excess of stuff, and some of us we have like deficiencies and stuff, which again goes back to, so in last week's video we were talking about like all the letters in the rainbow, right, including intersex people who up until recently were referred to as hermaphrodites. So these are people that have existed for like eons now. Did you have a good piss?
Yes, I did.
Okay, awesome. All right, bye.
Wait, do you want to sit over here? You done saying what you had to say?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess it is Pride Month. We still have a few more days. I am always down to talk about gender, sex, and the rights associated with them. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
I've been telling people to watch last week's episode because that was my premiere.
Yeah. It's last week's show.
Yeah.
So yes, every Wednesday, 8 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Although I have a new work schedule, so FYI, there is a chance it could move to Thursday, which I think is supposed to be my day off. I'll keep you guys posted though. Still going to be a regular thing. Let's see. Did you already read that comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I was like talking about like intersex people.
Okay. Why do we seek more? We already perfectly designed and made. We already have what we need genetically. Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's a great question. And I would answer very honestly and say, I don't know. I don't know, but it's still, nevertheless, it seems to be a thing. Well, that was actually all that I really had to say about that. I don't know how much time. What time is it?
It's 9:20. You still have 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You can do it. If you don't vape.
I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Making me feel like shit.
Yeah, it is making me feel like shit.
Yeah, I've really said probably everything I wanted to talk about. Some ideas may come to me while I'm sitting here, but yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think I said everything I had to say. Getting back to it, if anybody is just now tuning in, I personally have the theory that polyamory and monogamy are sexual orientations. I personally don't think that they're preferences. I think that they're orientations. So many of you may beg to differ. Fair enough. But yeah, let's see. Do poly couples? So Julia says, Do poly couples have to go out all together or one-on-one dates okay with all? Yes, so great question. No, they'd honestly, really the right way to handle that, they would need to really discuss each particular event and situation with their partner to discuss what is comfortable. I'll give you an example actually. I played together with my polyamorous partner. We dated together because we were poly and swingers. So play together is to swing together, and to poly together is to date together. So we usually dated people together, meaning we would go out and meet a partner together, or partners. But then there would be some nights where she was busy. Or honestly, there would be some nights where she just felt like sitting and watching a show. But let's say there was a partner that she thought was interesting, and she would say, hey, you know what, go out and grab a drink with them tonight and see if they're interesting or not. And I would. And so I'd go out and, meet this partner. And then my partner at home would call me up, my main poly partner, and be like, hey, what do you think? I was like, oh, they're really cool. And they'd be like, oh, cool. Do they want to come over? And they would come over. So yeah, no, so to answer your question, Julius, very situational. I would say talk to your partner every time. It would be a good idea to talk to your partner every time you want to go and do something like that and discuss what's okay and what's not okay. Okay.
Yeah, so talking about like agreements every time, negotiating, renegotiating, that is where the crossover lies with kink. Because within kink, God, I'm outing myself. Hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi, Bianca.
Because your mom's
Hi.
here. Oh God. Anyway, gotta commit. Yeah. So within the kink scene, there are a lot of acronyms like SSC, safe, sane, consensual, or even like for people who are into like some really edgy, dangerous stuff, RAC, risk aware, consensual kink, I think. But the main thing is like the consent aspect. There's the whole thing with negotiating and renegotiating interactions and dynamics with play partners. Now, usually in a kink scene, in the kink scene collectively, play isn't always sexual. There are a lot of people who engage in kink who are like they're not like they could all be completely clothed. There's no fluids being exchanged. In fact, if you go to dungeons, which there are plenty in Tampa, the scene is very active. Oftentimes they will say, like no fluids, whether it's blood or the expected fluids. Yeah, like they have like specific rules on like what can be exposed, what can be touched and things like that in like certain spaces. But yeah, these things are generally discussed with your partner, or even like one-off play partners during a session. Sometimes there are contracts being made. Like we were talking about 50 Shades, which is awful. I do not recommend.
Oh yeah, talk about
Yes.
that. Please talk about that.
Oh my God. Okay. So.
What's the tea?
Later. Yeah. So we were talking about 50 Shades, and he was like, "Yeah, I enjoyed the movie," and then me and this other person in the room were just like, "Dude, no! Like 50 Shades is garbage. Forget every single thing that you learned, like from 50 Shades. Like enjoy it as a movie, just aesthetically, sure. But even when I first saw just the trailer alone, you see Anastasia, like her wrists are bound, and they're bound loosely. If she flailed the wrong way, she could have broken her wrists. From the trailer alone, I was pissed off. Okay, you cannot learn anything useful from that franchise, especially the books, because I'm pissed off because there are teenagers who've never been kissed, who've written better fan fiction because 50 Shades started out as a Twilight fan fiction called Masters of the Universe and only got the reach that it did because it was tied to Twilight and the like shock and awe of it being tied to BDSM. Not because it was good, it was poorly researched and it wound up like causing such a... It ruined everything for the scene. All of these young boys, these like 20-something-year-old boys in their suits, are just because they like to be on top and pound into people. They're like, oh, I'm a dom, ooh, and like wanting to be called sir and stuff like that. It ruined the scene. It ruined the scene. People kept trying to emulate Christian Grey, or worse, with very little research or experience, causing physical, emotional, sexual harm, or at the very least, annoyance. She ruined the scene for the past decade. Yes, Alicia said 50 Shades, never mind if it's accurate, worst writing ever. Exactly. Exactly. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, that was an interesting discussion the other night because, I mean, you know, as somebody who now, you know, being poly.
Yes, Alicia.
And by the way, I'll check that out in a second. So, you know, and one thing I do want to clear up too, poly and kink are not the same. We are different communities. Swinger community is also different. Sometimes they do overlap, but they are different, very different communities with very, very different needs and different styles. Yeah, you know, I think this is another example of why it's so good to really kind of discuss things like this because, you know, I'm thinking 50 Shades of Grey they're great movies. I was telling her, I was like, oh yeah, they're wonderful movies.
The way that me and that lady in the shop just side-eyed you.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
It's true, they did. Like this moment of silence where it's like...
They were talking about what, you know, how much they believed it was a very, very inaccurate misrepresentation of the community itself.
No, it's factually unfactual garbage. It's horrible. Forget everything aside from the aesthetics.
See, and yeah, that's the thing. And as somebody like me, you know, just watching it just because it's interesting, I'm like, oh wow, these are great psychological sexual thrillers. I saw all three of them. I loved them. But it's like now it's like I'm finding out, okay, well they weren't really that accurate.
Did major harm to the community collectively.
Yeah.
Shit.
So, all right. So Alicia says that movie also had blatantly unhealthy relationship dynamics aside from BDSM. Interesting. Okay. Why do you say that? I'm just curious. Like, what was her name? His name was Gray, and then her name was what? What was her name?
Her name was the fact that I remember all of this. So her name is Anastasia. His name was Christian Grey.
Christian Grey, that's it.
Yeah. And all I gotta say is, forget 50 Shades. Watch Secretary. It has its issues, but basically it's like the roots of 50 Shades. E. Edward Grey. Please just watch Secretary instead. Don't pick up, don't even borrow 50 Shades from the library. Just
Borrow from the library?
don't even borrow it from the library. I mean, support your local library, hell yeah. But just do not support E.L. James. Do not support E.L. James. Boycott E.L. James.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I am kind of curious about what Alicia was saying. Alicia feels that, you know, it was an unhealthy relationship aside from BDSM. Let's see here. Andrea says, fell asleep trying to watch the movie. Secretary was so good. I forgot about that movie. Okay. Now I'm curious. I might have to check that out. See what the hype is all about. So blatantly unhealthy relationship dynamics. Okay. So Alicia says.
She says so many reasons, so little time. Oh, because it advocates the idea that you can change and rescue a very damaged person by loving them enough. Ooh, yep, yes, yep.
Let me think about that for a second. It kind of was like that a little bit. Okay. Yeah. I could see that. Okay, fair point, fair point. You know, and actually, I'll talk about that for a minute too. It's like, I think some rescuing and help is okay if you don't lose yourself to your partner, and if your partner is also actively trying to help themselves. You know, I don't personally believe that you should try to rescue someone who isn't trying to rescue themselves. You know, you definitely want a partner who is at least trying. You know, maybe they're not going to be perfect, but they're at least trying to help themselves also. Coach Corey Wayne said it best, in my opinion. He said, you know, they have to participate in their own rescue. And I think that's true. You know, you definitely want someone, if you are trying to be helpful to them in their life, that's participating in their own rescue. So, okay. Julia says, fun fact, libraries have a healthy collection of edgy movies.
Listen, I can confirm, oh my God, when I was in college.
Really?
When I was in college, I checked out Belle de Jour.
Nasty stuff.
But the thing is, the disc was damaged, so I never finished it, but like, Lord, that was, I also wound up checking out 2 copies of Justine and cried. I cried.
I have no idea what any of that stuff is.
Okay, so fun fact. So BDSM, right? So there's like a couple layers to the acronym. There's like bondage, domination, submission, masochism, and there's like the DS part, there's like the S&M part.
S&M, yeah.
Yeah, sadomasochism.
Masochism.
Yeah, so sadism and masochism. So where the term, oh my God, so like where the term came from for sadism came from the nefarious author Marquis de Sade, who wrote The Story of O. By the way, yeah, The Story of O is crazy. The Story of O is crazy. So, God, that, I shouldn't go cheap on that, but like he has like a bunch of like really explicit stories that involve like bondage and submission and general like erotic violence that like kind of just, yeah. So Marquis de Sade, Google, beware, you will be forever changed.
Okay. Interesting. So, Alicia says she transformed Mr. Emotionally Unavailable, and that's not realistic. I get that. You know, I think that movies sometimes will, you know, portray a lot of things as being possible that aren't, you know, that maybe they are possible, but they're not realistic, and they may never happen, because change often has to come from an internal desire within, you know, that person. And, you know, even if they want to change it, and even if you can't affect their change, a lot of times that takes years, you know. Sometimes that could even take decades, when people just have to work that out. They have to sort that out. And that can be very ugly, you know. Yeah, very messy. The foreign film section is loaded at the library. Like what kind of films are we talking about here, Julius? I mean, what do you mean?
Ooh, are we gonna have a watch party?
Babes in Joyland. Hot girls in bikinis.
Just basically any French film. Just basically any French film.
French film, huh?
French film over the past couple decades.
He said no comment.
We're not gonna have a library trip with the fam.
He said no comment.
We're not gonna have a library
Oh
in the
my
family.
God.
Have a good.
All right, so Alicia says in 50 Shades, he had reasons for being like he was, but he credited her with his sudden change. It's fantasy. Right.
And then you also have to keep in mind that like that, although that's awful, it also makes sense with the context that again, the story started out as a Twilight fan fiction. So if you are familiar with the story of Twilight and how like Bella, who's Anastasia, is like this like super like she's the only person whose mind that Edward couldn't read, and then like her like the scent of her blood was just like so like intoxicating. On top of that, it's just like wow. So it was just like super mystical, magical, supernatural stuff. Translated to like a poorly researched kinky fan fiction.
Well, yeah, you talk about couldn't resist her blood and all that. Definitely sounds like some Twilight shit.
Yeah. That's literally the like. Well, that's specifically referencing Twilight. But, yeah.
So, and Julia says, and I can't delete my library history. Oh, that's awesome. Let's see. Are you going to do the show with Victoria? Oh, I can. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome if she wants to.
Yeah,
actually,
she said when.
When? I don't know. I actually told her I was going to be on tonight. I had sent her a message earlier. She's like, hey, I'm going to be on. She's like, oh, cool. You know, Victoria, she's busy. Victoria, if you're watching, you are too damn busy. I mean, like, seriously, how do you live across the street? And I don't even know what you look like anymore. That's my sister. So, for all of you people watching, my sister lives across the street from me. You know, her and her husband have a nice little cozy house over there. And she's busy all the time. I mean, she's just like always busy. You know, I'm outside working on my trans ale.
Listen, dude.
And she still is just too busy to come over and say hi to her brother.
Listen, dude, they're married, right? Like, you've been married before. You don't know the kind of shades of shenanigans.
That's true.
You don't know the kind of shades of shenanigans they're getting into.
That's true. All right, so let's see here. Yes, but vampires are less dangerous to believe in. Wow.
You know what?
Holy shit.
You know what? Hold on. As a goth, in the alternative community, I can say with certainty that there are people that actually practice vampirism. That should be a video on its own. But yeah, so I actually read this book that was called The Psychic Vampire Codex, and it touched on people who. So there've been like a couple of documentaries over the years, particularly since the '90s, during the height of like vampire role-playing games like Vampire the Masquerade, which is still ongoing. But there are people who feed energetically. Like you might have heard if you're into like either supernatural or like metaphysics stuff, like people say like, oh, they're an energy vampire in a negative sense. But there are some people who do practice psi vampirism or energy vampirism, either like directly feeding from a person or like from a space. And then there are also people who are sanguinarians, blood. They drink blood. There are people that drink blood. There are like whole forums where people have donors, and like people like sign up to be donors, and like they'll get like medically safe tools and stuff like that to do a little bloodletting. And yeah, there are people who actually practice vampirism. Vampires exist.
And that's so weird to me. Even as somebody who is considered a vampire archetype, I have been called that before, did some research on that, check that out, Jordan Peterson, male archetypes. Vampire does fit me very well. I can't drink blood, that's disgusting.
Uh-huh.
I worry about all the, what do they call it, the blood-borne pathogens Oh, look at me, I'm so cool drinking human blood. And then it's like, oh my God, I got HIV. And now I got AIDS, bitch.
Hold on. Hold on.
What?
Because people in the vampire
Do you want to get AIDS?
I'm not saying that I'm a sanguinarian. I know some people, but I'm not a sanguinarian. But usually people are like, they're very serious about their testing and stuff like that. She was on.
I would.
Oh wait, oh your sister. Yeah, she was on actually. She did comments earlier.
Cool. Victoria, thank you for watching. I know you're gone now. You probably had to go because you're so busy. Miss you, love you. Yeah, you know, yeah, just no, I could not imagine drinking. Oh, I don't even like my steak too bloody, you know? Like I like it just cooked enough to where it's juicy, but like bloody, I don't know.
Yeah, I had tartare once, and because I get a period, it just made me think of being on my period while I was eating, and I could like still smell it like in like the back of my nostrils the next day, waking up. It was, yeah. I also don't think I could, although I do give Akasha energy with cheekbones and stuff. R.I.P. Aaliyah. I personally could not be a feeder in that sense.
Well, what's an akasha?
No, like Queen of the Damned.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yes.
It's a really cool movie. They were cool. Yeah, they were really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and for those of you who are fans of Queen of the Damned, particularly the soundtrack, which is like iconic, one of the best film soundtracks of all time. Jonathan Davis of Korn, who like produced it, who like voiced.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, and he voiced some of Lestat's speaking or singing parts. So like Lestat's voice was like a combination of Jonathan Davis, Chester Bennington, Wayne Static, and
Wayne Static?
mhm,
No shit.
and Marilyn Manson. But so the instrumentals, we love the instrumentals of that movie. Jonathan Davis actually did wind up doing reuniting with a lot of the instrumentalists from Queen of the Damned, and made a solo album called Black Labyrinth, which is phenomenal and makes you just want to like throw ass with my coin belt. Listen.
Ooh, your hips won't stop moving.
Guys, listen. You gotta know who Wayne Static is. I really need you guys to know this. So I'm gonna share a little something with you real quick and then get back to the comments. Oh yeah. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Here we go, here we go. Hopefully it won't be a dumb commercial. Oh! 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 Right? That's what he's doing in the video. This song fucking hits. This album it does. Woo! Yeah! Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's great.
Sadly, he died, but they're still touring. Static, yeah. So he died, and Static X is still touring. But what's interesting is that they have the singer with like a mask, kind of like, and I think they refer to them as like Zero or something like that, and like the mask has like his like spiked, sculpted like
Wow.
hair to kind of like keep that like legacy going. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That I had no clue. That is cool. So we got some new comments here.
No, your mom said gross. Oh wait, I think she's talking about the blood thing.
Oh yeah, but the blood or the song?
I hope it was just the blood.
The song was great.
Yeah.
Corrosive in my head to the surface. Corrosive into the circle. I don't know what he said, but I always loved the way that song sounded. That song was great. That was. Oh. So Alicia says, that was a good book. I've not read all of Rice's books by far, but read Queen of the Damned, Lestat, and Interview. See, I didn't even know what the hell. Like, I didn't even know it was a book.
Oh gosh.
Did you know it was a book?
Of course I did. I'm goth.
See that? Yeah. So Queen of the Damned was one of the sequels to the. So like, it started out with Interview with the Vampire, which introduced you to Louis and Lestat, and then there's like, oh my gosh, what is like the full title of Lestat's book? But there's like an individual book about Lestat, and then there's also Queen of the Damned, where Lestat is he rises, and it takes place in the 80s. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, it takes place in the 80s.
I'll watch it.
No, I mean the book. It takes place in the 80s.
I'll still watch it.
Yeah, sure. Watch the book. Yeah, the Vampire Lestat. Thank you. Yeah, so the Vampire Lestat is like about his journey specifically or individually after Interview with the Vampire. I've only read Interview with the Vampire. I haven't read the rest of them yet.
Okay, interesting. You know, there's always these books, and it's like the books predated the movies. Isn't that weird? Every time you watch a movie, it's, oh yeah, I read the book, and the book was fantastic. It's like, what the fuck? What do you mean there was a book?
I don't know. Up your literacy game, man.
They don't have any pictures in it.
Well, actually.
Actually.
Well, actually, there's not really an excuse for that anymore because a lot of novels have been getting graphic novel adaptations. For example, the the Dresden Files series, there are graphic novel adaptations of these supernatural detective noir novels. Totally recommend. Love Harry Dresden.
Absolutely. Basically, for anybody just tuning in, polyamory, a choice or an orientation. And what have we learned tonight? It is an orientation. All right, Miss Enigma says, DIASISS, get out from under your rock. Queen of the Damned is iconic. Well, I'll think about it. Hell, I might even watch it again. I never did read the book, though. I saw the movie once. With a goth friend of mine. She was like, you never seen Queen of the Damned? Oh my God, yes. That's just horrible. I can't believe you haven't seen this movie.
Why is that your go-to woman voice?
You're unbelievable, DIASISS.
Why is that your go-to woman voice, though?
I was like, fine, well, let's watch it. I don't know. This is my go-to man's voice. Yo, what's up, bro? What's going on, dog? Well,
Just
No?
the speaker is just like right.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a speaker on
I'm
there.
not hard of hearing like you yet.
Oh, I can't hear a damn thing.
Yeah.
My boss will be in my ear all the time, and I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And then I like take off my headphones and shit. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's a good question. Are there signals like certain colored scarves that poly couples use to announce interest?
There are actually things like that in the kink and swingers and poly community. For instance,
Not the loofahs. Okay, the loofah is.
what the hell's a loofah?
Oh, ooh.
What's a loofah?
Oh, I'm about to explain. Okay, so, oh yeah, because you don't exfoliate. Yeah, so like loofahs are like those little like scrubby like puffy thingies that you put in your shower, right? And you like scrub your body with like shower gel.
Those are I'm like always throwing those out. That's that shit I'm always like throwing out. Like, why is there always
Well,
trash in the shower?
Well,
Every time I
anyway,
try to get a shower, man, gotta keep like dumping that shit out.
just sip and listen. So for context, what Mama Brenda is saying is, so there's a reference with there's like a graphic that was floating around about like a loofah code with the Villages. So for those of you who aren't in Florida, the Villages is an infamous retirement community where all the old people be fucking.
Right.
To put it simply. So someone made an infographic that had like different colored loofahs that you would put on like your car antenna in the parking lot. So it'd be like, oh, if you're interested in swinging, if you're interested in like specific sex acts and things like that. But going back to Julius's comment just above, like certain colored scarves. So there's like, I was talking about this the other day. Since like the 80s, maybe probably earlier actually, back when people had to be very, very closeted about their sexuality just in general. This was largely within the leather scene, from my understanding, like the gay, like the leather man leather scene. So there'd be like gay male bars, and people, you know, there'd be guys who would like wear like leather motorcycle gear, but they would flag using the hanky code, which would denote if they, like depending on like which back pocket they'd put their handkerchief in, if they were a top or a bottom, what sex acts they were open to, like yellow for, you just Google the hanky code. Just Google it.
Yeah, but no, that's a great question. For instance, and if you don't mind, I'll talk a little bit about where we met. So we met at a speed dating that was, alternative lifestyle speed dating thing, where it was part of the kink community and all that. And so a lot of us wore stickers kind of signifying what we're okay with, what we're not okay with, what our orientations were. And also like at poly swinger places, sometimes they may have like a special symbol or circle that you can wear with different colors. And that, for instance, one might mean it's okay to touch me. One might mean, okay, it's not okay to touch me. And stuff like that. So yes, no, that's a good question. There are things like that to kind of make that a little bit less awkward in conversation. So you can kind of just look at somebody from across the room and be like, okay, there's somebody I'm interested in, but unfortunately she's wearing a symbol or has a sticker on her body that says, you cannot touch me, or you have to talk to my master or my whatever, however you want to do it. So yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah. This has actually been a awesome episode. It's very interesting to talk about. You guys have had some amazing comments. I want to thank you for your participation. Thank you for your perspective. Thank you all for your perspective. This has been very, very interesting. We got about 5 more minutes. We're going to wrap it up. But, wow. Yeah. Anybody that's just tuning in, polyamory, a choice or an orientation. We had a very, very interesting and lively discussion about that, and many other things related to romance and love, kink community. So definitely rewind if you want to get any more of that. It's very interesting. Yeah, well, hell, we'll probably wrap it up from right here.
Yeah, I mean, we managed to talk about books and movies and vampires and bodily fluids of all kinds, basically.
Bodily fluids.
Oh yeah, bodily fluids.
Bodily fluids.
Yeah.
Bodily fluids. Go ahead, I'm listening.
For those of you that are in Florida and want to learn about kink, definitely there's a hearty scene in the Tampa area, Lando Lakes, of course, Orlando. Yeah, just like search dungeons. Dungeons are not sex clubs, by the way. Just to go back to the whole like bodily fluid thing. Dungeons are not sex clubs. You cannot have. That's not a thing that's happening there.
Yep.
There are swingers clubs. There are swingers clubs where people be fucking. But dungeons are not that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, you learn about the kink community. You learn that there are kink places that I have been to where there's a lot of kink going on. There's not any sex happening. So yeah, no, it's very interesting. So it's a very interesting thing to learn about, in all aspects too. I mean, you know, whether you're gay, whether you are straight and hetero, whether you're monogamous, polyamorous, swinger, or whatever. You know, I think it's just amazing for us all to kind of get to know each other and realize that we're all people at the end of the day. You know. And maybe our preferences are a little bit different, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know what? We're all people. Different strokes for different folks.
Ha, strokes.
Different strokes, right? Oh, yeah. You know what, guys? This has been a lot of fun. We're going to close this out with a little bit of Static X.